And it's in. It's another goal. CSKA 4-0 down now.
Titting hell, man. Look, I'm done with these lot, honestly. Loss after loss every single game. Right, listen, brother, I need to get to the game. To be honest, bro, I'm depressed at the game. I'd just rather... You know what? Окей.
Може би ти ще имаш някаква теория.
Видяхме всички по време на матча. Доста изненадани бяха според мен всички около терена.
And that's unbelievable. He's arrived for his debut in a taxi, straight out of the car, onto the pitch for the corner kick. Are you serious? He was a player. I didn't even know you. I thought he was a fan. And he scored. Even more misery for CSKA on a... Oh, for fuck's sake, man. Yo guys, it is your boy Erik here, and you are watching FTW. This, of course, the series where I bring to the best and more frequently the worst of what football has to offer during the last 7 days. Now, last week I told you about the fact that this channel now has channel members. I didn't set it up properly, so shout it out again. As I mentioned before, you'll get early access to uploads that I do, emotes and stuff on premieres for a series that's returning very, very soon, and also some exclusive content too. It's a way to support the channel. I'd really appreciate it. What's been kicking off in the world this week? Well, Just Stop Oil activists were jailed after they threw soup over a Vincent van Gogh painting a while ago. They would have gotten away with it as well had the roads been clear. Alan, get in the car. For fuck's sake, lads. No, get out of the street. This is friendly fire. The exhibition owner knows what time it is already at this point when he sees an orange shirt in the crowd for the tour. It is a bit mental though, innit, realistically. They're trying not to have the world blow up through global warming and they're going to jail for this long. So, what are you in here for, man? Well, back in 2003, I murdered an entire family with my bare hands before committing the most catastrophic bank fraud that the world has ever seen on the same day. Why would you even do those crimes on the same day? What about you? Okay, well, look, listen, have you had of chicken and mushroom soup? Now, though, let's move on to the big topics. We got FC25 footage in the background.
It's time to play the game. Time to play the game.
Champions League fans will come to you soon, okay? But sometimes we got to cater for the smaller clubs as well. And that's why we head to Manchester United versus Tottenham first.
Do you think that's necessary?
Now, United fans would probably rather be on a desert island with Philip Schofield than hear this next segment of the video. And they'll probably see a lot more on-the-ball play than United there as well. The Red Devils were, in all honesty, slapped about all game as they lost 3-0 to Ange Postecoglou's Spurs. And the pain had probably already started by this timestamp in the video.
Van der Ven and touched in by Johnson. Absolutely brilliant from Van der Ven. One of the best runs I've ever seen from a centre-back.
Mickey van der Ven parted United's Red Sea with an insane run from centre-back. Unfortunately for United, Diogo Dalot was more of a Victor Moses and left his man with 3 postcodes worth of space. If you thought that was the low point for United, though, you'd be mistaken. Imagine Lisandro Martinez, by the way, trying this run from centre-back. It's going to look absolutely crazy. Meanwhile, Casemiro is having a difficult time trying to keep up with Mickey. United have got the entire Dutch national team on their books, by the way, and Tottenham got the good one. Who can I sign from Ajax's under-21s to help with this situation? James Maddison took to Insta to hail the goal scorer Brennan Johnson before saying that Mickey van der Ven wasn't actually quite quick enough. But this performance from United was awful. Ten Hag was genuinely leading Red Devil terrorism.
Tomorrow I'm doing 9-11.
United being the only place where a 9 and an 11 don't actually strike their target. They were 1-0 down and getting peppered early on, and things would only get worse as Bruno Fernandes received a straight red card for a challenge on James Maddison. And honestly, it couldn't have happened to a nicer man. This one should be a red card in the same way that the island that Philip Schofield is on should be inhabited.
Do you want me to die? Because that's where I am.
It was not a straight red at all, and it has now been overturned. But they were down to 9 men for a second after Mason Mount wasn't allowed on the pitch to replace the injured Kobbie Mainoo. These lot can't even do a substitution correctly. Joshua Zirkzey's highlights were absolutely outrageous, because getting this man to actually score a goal is proving difficult for the rest of the United side. And it's not much better over on the other end of the pitch, as Timo Werner managed to miss, I think, 3 one-on-ones in this one. He doesn't know what he's doing when he breaks the 100 meters world record just to get into a position, only to realize he actually needs to score at the end of it. Thankfully, Dejan Kulusevski did his job for him to eventually grab a second versus the 10 men, then a third from a set piece later on. This now means that Erik Ten Hag has seen his side concede 3 or more goals for a 25th time during his tenure. Jadon Sancho was at home, happily hate watching this performance.
Fucking brilliant.
Meanwhile, I for one think he has to stay. He needs more time. Fans, unsurprisingly, were not too impressed by this performance, and it looked like there'd been a fire drill at Old Trafford. If Ineos had anything about them, Eric would have been gone by the time he got into the car park. And speaking of fire in the car park, Saeed was not happy here, calling out the manager and Mark Goldbridge.
Ten Haram, it's personal, mate, and anyone who is Ten Hag in now, mate. Come and find me. I'm in the car park now. If you are backing this shit, you are an enabler. Goldfish, yeah? You fucking absolute whopper, yeah? You absolute prick you are, mate. My man's tweeting about it's the same old faces. He spent 600 million. You dirty copper, mate.
Brother, we've got a United fan civil war. What is even going on here? Mickey van der Veen couldn't stop watching his assist back on the flight home. Flying back to London from Manchester is absolutely woke nonsense. These lot will be getting a flight down the tunnel at this rate. Timo Werner, meanwhile, was too distracted playing Clash Royale on his phone. Honestly, I'm surprised he didn't miss the screen the way he played that day. Pedro Porro took to Insta to say that the city was in fact blue. Of course, he used to be a Man City player back in his younger days. Meanwhile, the XG stats were crazy. Again, obviously the red card changed things slightly in terms of it really gave United absolutely no way back into the game, but they were getting dominated already, and this stat really shows it. Before kickoff, and Anthony was still attempting to make himself the main character. To be fair though, his stats are impressive. At the end of the day, he has played in every game that he started in. 40G/A, but the A stands for appearances. Meanwhile, with Erik Ten Hag realistically having his job at risk, Gareth Southgate could be about to be prepared as the new United manager. Now, there were historic scenes at Aston Villa as Unai Emery's side beat Bayern Munich 1-0 to recreate a golden night where they won the European Cup in the 80s. An unbelievable Champions League performance here from them, ending a 41-game and 7-year unbeaten group stage run for Bayern. And of course, John Duran was once again Villa's hero. Death, taxes, and this man scoring an unnecessary screamer. Any club in world football becomes immediately concerned anytime they see this man come off the bench. Timo Werner will have been watching at home trying to recreate this though in his back garden with pretty poor results. Though in this situation, Johan was helped a little bit by Manuel Neuer, perhaps the worst position a German's taken up since the 1940s. His ADHD kicked in alongside a gravitational pull of that man towards the centre circle. Leave the gloves before the gloves leave you. Because yeah, his rating in comparison to Emi Martinez, well, it was no contest really. Meanwhile, Jamie Carragher and Micah Richards were trying their hardest to communicate with John at full time.
Buenas noches, John.
Buenas noches, ¿cómo estás?
Eres mi delantero favorito en...
Excuse me. Quanto questo tu conte del pelo?
Bayern fans were doing their best to try and forget about the result in the crowd.
Enemy taking Charlie.
And German, crazy language. The translation, even more ridiculous, I gotta say.
Is he on fucking space?
Meanwhile, for Unai Emery, what a result. I mean, Aston Villa were, what, the Championship 4 years ago? Playing like Bolton Wanderers. No offence to Bolton Wanderers.
That tastes like depression.
But the fact that they are now beating Bayern Munich in the Champions League is a testament to not only the ownership, but also the scouting department, the recruitment, obviously managerially, Unai, and the players as well. There's been some real standout stories in terms of overperformers, John Duran being one of them, and he's already turning into a cult hero. Arsenal secured yet another victory for an English side in Europe with an impressive 2-0 win over PSG. Now, I got accused of being anti-Arsenal last week because I mentioned that they were playing 14 men behind the ball. Instead, this week, Kai Havertz was planting 14 teeth into the ball. Because what is even going on here? His dinner tomorrow, somewhat unorthodox. But Osama bin Tetado, and genuinely he's done well here against his former club. He was a player at PSG. Though to be honest, Arsenal start 2-0 up most of the time because they're going to score 2 free kicks in a game. And with Gianluigi Donnarumma in between the sticks for PSG, even more reason. Because he panics completely when the ball comes towards him. Gianluigi, bro, like genuinely, you've made it. You're starting for like your boyhood club, AC Milan. You're like 17 years old. I have the incredible and deplorable urge to become a terrorist in goal in 2 years from now. Gianluigi, please, why would you even... I don't understand. To be fair, it's not much better at the other end of the pitch for PSG either, because they ordered their front line from Timu. The Paris Saint-Germain these days, completely different prospect to Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe. But I don't want to take away from Arsenal at all. They dominated the entire game here. It was a real wholesome moment for Lewis Miles Skelly's mum, who was watching on in the crowd as her teenage son made his debut in the Champions League. Lovely stuff there. And wholesome stuff off the pitch as well between Bukayo Saka and Robert Pires. The French former Arsenal invincible had said recently that he preferred Jeremy Doku to Arsenal star boy. Well, they met up at full time, and maybe with that performance, Robert has changed his mind. Another man interacting with Bukayo Saka was Conor McGregor, who was doing kick-ups and, for some reason, trying to scrap the youngster on the pitch. He could have hurt him, but he probably got distracted seeing white lines sprayed all across the pitch. Bukayo knows this man is off his rocker, and genuinely, I'd be concerned, because there could be a career-ending injury with just one kick here. For McGregor, I mean, I've seen that man shin. And Connor will have been waffling to Mikel Arteta down on the bench about how Arsenal could roundhouse kick the ball into the back of the net for their third. And there was an absolute slapping at Signal Iduna Park as Dortmund put 7 past Celtic. Yeah, Scottish football's firmly back then, innit? And German fans are fully back as well. They unveiled this massive tifo calling UEFA the Mafia, with German and Dortmund fans once again unhappy about the money-making scheme that is UEFA these days. But honestly, for Celtic, letting Adeyemi of all people put the ball in your net 3 times is criminal. Though one of the goals was an absolute screamer and definitely takes home one of our goals of the week. Picking up the ball at a ridiculous angle on the left-hand side of the penalty area and smacking it in through the near post. Dortmund brought back the broccoli posts for their favoured son. Meanwhile, Nuri Sahin, of course, is Dortmund's manager these days. He said there's still a long way to go over on Twitter. A long way to go because the max potential of beating Celtic is actually scoring 14 past them. Man City were also out to batter their opponents, beating Slovan Bratislava 4-0. Even in the new format, they're playing teams from Shoreditch Power League. I've had enough. Phil Foden misread it. Thought he was playing Baklava. Barcelona demolished Young Boys this week, and that's just their training schedule at La Masia. Yeah, it was a 5-0 battering of the Swiss side here for Barca, and it saw an event as rare as a solar eclipse. No, not a good tune from KSI.
You don't want this.
It saw Ansu Fati and Frenkie de Jong play in the same match. Genuinely, lads, the end of the world is nigh. Now, staying on the Spanish vibe, and there was drama in La Liga. Real Madrid were 1-0 up against City rivals Atletico when the game was stopped after items and projectiles were thrown at Real goalkeeper Thibaut Courtois. The game was postponed for a short while, then got back underway, with Atletico scoring a last-minute equaliser at the death.
It's all the drama, Mick. I just love it.
One of the items that had been thrown at Thibaut Courtois was a bag of shit. Who's bringing a bag of shit to a stadium? There were lighters being thrown. Do that to Wojciech Szczesny for Barcelona, and he's grabbing it and smoking with it. And a set of keys. That's ridiculous, because now you're just locked out of your house when you get home. It was pretty intense, I'm not going to lie. Courtois caught a little bit of flack for inciting it, but I'm pretty sure there were chances of Courtois die before that anyway. I didn't know Kevin De Bruyne was an Atleti fan, to be fair. Real Madrid fans were furious with Koke and his role in all of this. Bayern fans look away now, I suppose, after his role in an incident with Vinny Jr., who was also giving it large to Marcos Llorente and ending up the recipient of unprecedented levels of racismo. Probably. It's Atletico fans, let's be honest with you. It was a scary moment for defender Robin Lenormand, who was involved in a clash of heads and had to come off the field. Apparently a scary brain injury, though no sign of bleeding from the ears, mainly because there was no KSI tunes in the local area. And apparently there's a totally broken relationship now between Atleti and Real after the fan troubles and all sorts of other things that were going out on the pitch. But surely there should be no relationship. You're sworn enemies. That's the whole point. Now, Kylian Mbappe is clearly missing Ligue 1 farmyards. Thankfully for him, he doesn't have to wait too long to get back on the combine harvester, because Real were defeated at the hands of a surprise 1-0 victory thanks to Jonathan David. A 2.7 disaster class for Kylian. This Matty didn't look the same, I'm not gonna lie, during this one. I said it before, I'll say it again. The Super League's beckoning.
好吃不排队的餐馆上哪儿搜？小红书。
The family group chat, by the way, in this one must have been a nightmare. Ethan Mbappe, he might be the better brother at this point, and he's realising that now. Throwing bags of shit at Real players clearly rubbed off on them, because Carlo Ancelotti realised he couldn't eyebrow his way out of these shenanigans. Questions were being asked of where Jude Bellingham was during all of this, as his highlights weren't particularly that great. Meanwhile, Carlo Ancelotti, as I mentioned, hasn't really helped the situation, because the rotation he's been doing this season is not the rotation that most fans want him to do. Antonio Rudiger had a square off with Niakate of Lille, only for the Lille defender to claim he's got bad breath. And Endrick was also the victim of the German centre-back. He laid down to be a draft excluder in a free kick wall, but he had his arm out and Tony was telling him that that's a terrible idea, which it is. But you gotta let him off. Like, Bobby, he didn't have, like, walls like this in his day. It leaves Real, Bayern Munich and Barcelona all mid-table in the Champions League group stage right now. Meanwhile, there were wholesome scenes for Lille at full time as they celebrated the 17th birthday of one of their players, Ayoub Bouadi, on probably his best day in football, right in front of the Ultras. Elsewhere for French sides, and Brest look great, and the football club are doing all right as well. They have won twice during the Champions League group stage. They've never even been in the Champions League before, and they peppered Red Bull Salzburg 4-0. Mika Richards, though, not quite as impressed.
Dortmund, Brest and Leverkusen are the 3 teams right now with a 100% record. Brest actually play Bayer Leverkusen match day 3, so that'd be an interesting one.
It's a big one. Like sometime name. Oh my God. No, you know what? I gotta go. It's a big game.
Jamie, what's up with you?
Because we both top, you know, so obviously it's a big game.
Bit lopsided, I think.
And Mika was talking himself into trouble later on in the show as well, not fully understanding the message behind candy shop.
What do they call this in America?
Candy.
Oh, candy. I'll take you to the candy shop.
No, it's not the same.
so
It's not the same thing. No, it's not exactly the same thing. But it's all right. You know.
Oh, I'm singing lyrics.
Yeah. But don't go further.
Okay.
In Portugal, and Benfica battered Atletico Madrid 4-0. And after how the league game went, Vinny Jr. was loving seeing this result. Now back in the Premier League, and Newcastle versus Manchester City ended in a draw, 1-1 the scoreline here. And the Geordies have done us all a favour. Now Kieran Trippier played in this match, wearing 2 separate boots from 2 separate companies. Clearly the divorce fees needed paying off somehow. That boot was lost during warm-up, I'll tell you that for free. No, but Pep Guardiola, and he was realising that there is no replacement for Manchester City's Rodri, as Ilkay Gundogan and Mateo Kovacic were caught dicking about most of the game. He might have been free, but the total profit they're going to make on Gundogan, yeah, it's not going to be as good as they hope. Meanwhile, Ederson was playing with fire with a back heel in a dangerous area that had Pep Guardiola stressed from the sidelines. Meanwhile, Harvey Barnes was looking stressed in a different sense if he gets searched by security at the end of the tunnel. Brentford are back to being 1-minute wonders. Now trust me, I know all about those. However, these lot need to do a little bit more for the rest of a football match. Brian Mbeumo is the best player in the world when fans are still sitting down in their seats. But Thomas Frank will be left disappointed when he realises the football matches are longer than 37 seconds. Meanwhile, Liverpool were victorious against Wolves in the end. Ibrahima Konate scored in this one and believed he deserved man of the match over Ryan Gravenberch. He wasn't too pleased with Gary Neville.
You're doing it begrudgingly. Who decided who is the man of the match? How is this possible? It's my brother. I have to give to him. Milan, I score. They score. I save 1 or 2 balls. I didn't deserve it. Thank you. Gary Neville. Thank you, Gary.
Though Arnie Slot reminded him of how Wolves actually scored their goal, being a Konate error. Diogo Jota's been ruled out with a small foot injury, but let's be honest, we all know the real reason why he's out. Play it again. Meanwhile, Mario Lemina was caught crying at full time here after putting in a big shift. It's still early in the season, bro. It's match 6, fam. Use your FPL wildcard and keep it moving. And Arsenal and Mikel Arteta confirmed that Leandro Trossard hadn't been relegated to being a water boy after his red card against Man City.
No, at least it's not a punishment that I made him do. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Meanwhile, Everton's new stadium has flooded already. Lads, it's not even open yet. Come on. They're preparing for the tears of Everton fans when they lose a 7th in a row. It's just a dress rehearsal, guys. Meanwhile, Chelsea beat Brighton 4-2, and I'll be speaking about this more in a separate video in a couple of days, but Cole Palmer was absolutely exceptional. He might be the best player in the league. He scored all 4 for Chelsea here, but that didn't stop Romeo Lavia calling him mid on his hat-trick match ball. He has more goals in the league than Manchester United, bruv. And he predicted that he'd scored 4 in the league as well in pre-season when he was doing like green screen stuff for the Premier League.
You like a 1-2-3 if you score a hat-trick as well? What for? Reloads. Huh? What for? Yeah, so do it slower. Yeah, it's tricky.
Bournemouth beat Southampton 3-1 earlier in the week, and Bournemouth stadium announcer as well as their fans took a lot of joy in telling Saints fans that their train home, the final one that would get them back to their city, had been cancelled, so they'd have to stay overnight. It's a shithousery award for everyone at the club. Now, over in Spain, and Barcelona was sure it was comeback time versus Osasuna, just to lose the game 4-2 instead. Barca's squad apparently, I think, had 14 players under the age of 21 in it. That is child labour. What is going on at Barca? In a week where Jules Koundé's been covered in whipped cream for modelling shoots, it's Barca that are milking La Masia dry. Don't do that too much. Frankie de Jong, he's probably lactose intolerant or something. He'll be out for another 3 months in the face of that much dairy. Wojciech Szczesny has joined the club after obviously a season-ending injury for Marc-Andre ter Stegen, and Wojciech has been convinced to come out of retirement. These were the scenes as cars brought him to the ground. Why are they driving that quickly? Did they kidnap the poor guy? He's got a black eye as well in the picture that they've used. Yeah, I don't know what they were doing. Meanwhile, in the Champions League and for Spanish side Girona, Donny van der Beek scored his first goal for the club and still lost. But the most curious thing about this game, 2 identical twin linesmen. They both definitely put their flags up at the exact same time. All I'm going to say is, if there isn't good communication situation for VAR in this game than there'll never be. No such problems for Barca's women's side, who won 10-1 this week over in Italy, and were ridiculous scenes at Genoa versus Juventus where there was a fire in the VAR room. I can guarantee they were distracted anyway from making poor decisions, let's be real. What's the reason? What, can the screen not handle it or something? These lot are watching replays for VAR decisions in 144p. It's going to be an explosive set of circumstances when they go to put it in 4K. Dusan Vlahovic is going to be slotting home with a forest fire in the background, as the technology can't quite handle it when things get a little bit more advanced at the Italian Stockley Park. I mentioned Juve, a club legend, Gianluigi Buffon, got married this week. Clearly wanted to get his footballing career out of the way first, and yeah, he's a keeper. Yeah, sick one. Cagliari confirmed that there's one thing that begins with a P that everybody loves, and it's their mascot. Yeah, try telling that to your fans who are abusing him every week. Meanwhile, Fiorentina fans made the journey to Empoli for a 0-0 draw in unique fashion, all of them going up on mopeds. As for Torino, their manager was asked whether he'd do anything differently in their most recent game, to which he replied saying if his grandmother had wheels, she would have been a wheelbarrow. He's got the quote slightly wrong, but we'll let it land for now.
You know what? It doesn't make any sense what you said.
In France, some Cardi B was in attendance for a Liga game for PSG, but she was complaining over on Insta, asking why they'd put her in the boring side instead of being with the actual ultras. Get her at the front next time. She'll be going absolutely crazy at their next league match. Meanwhile, on the theme of PSG, and Ousmane Dembele has reportedly fallen out with manager Luis Enrique. Why? I'm not entirely sure, but it saw him dropped from their Champions League squad. Luis just saw the receipt for his medical bills and said that enough was enough. Ousmane, please, just getting your reputation back. We need, hopefully they can sort that out, because PSG have not got players to waste. Meanwhile, shout out to this one Anonsi fan who went to a Bastia away game on his own. One ultra, one away fan is absolutely crazy. And he was rewarded with a late equalising goal from Travis Dargo with 10 minutes to go to see his side earn a point in Liga. Meanwhile, in Germany, Werder Bremen pulled off an insane comeback against Hoffenheim. They were 3-0 down in the first half and had it back to 4-3 early in the second. Whoever got sent off for Werder Bremen, they got taken out backhand shot. I can tell you that for free. Now there is time for your goals of the week. We've got some beauties for you. You saw the Adeyemi one earlier, so only 2 left. And first of all, in the CONCACAF Central American Cup, we're at Real Esteli versus Aguila, where Byron Bonilla has scored an unbelievable free kick from out wide as well. And finally, we've got like a ludicrous goal. Like, this is potential Pushkas stuff coming from Vitesse. Well, the ball is bouncing around and ends up on the edge of the area for Irakli Yeoyan to acrobatically bicycle kick the ball back towards goal and into the top corner. Yeah, absolutely nuts. If this isn't their goal of the season, then... Hello all, and welcome to The Beautiful Game, the segment where we take a look at the poetic and brilliant side of the game that we love. We are back, by popular demand, for yet more glorious beauty. And that concludes The Beautiful Game. Now, legend of the game Andres Iniesta announced that he had retired this week. Oh no, sorry, no, I'm lying. Fabrizio Romano announced it for him. Yeah, Fabrizio couldn't help himself and decided to announce that Iniesta would be retiring on the 8th of October. Like, where's the morals in all of this, man? Just let the guy retire in peace. Let him announce that he's done with football. Andres will have been depressed seeing the news break before he even had a chance to decide on it properly. Instant plans on the screen instead.
Yeah, I prefer to kill him.
Over in America, and one kid managed to get onto the pitch to grab a selfie with Lionel Messi. Given the tight security usually surrounded by this, it got me thinking what his bodyguard must have been doing as this child ran onto the scene. In the Netherlands, and things are looking rough for Jordan Henderson, who ended up squaring up to one of his Ajax teammates over a disagreement whilst they were 3-0 down. What did you say about my 2018 World Cup semi-final performance against Croatia? You fucking shit, bro. Just take that. Yeah, bro, I can't lie your ass. In a tunnel now at Galatasaray, and one goalkeeper couldn't help pranking a mascot he was going to walk out with. Meanwhile, CSKA Moscow have signed Miralem Pjanic, the former Juve and Barca midfielder, and the announcement is about as surreal as it can get.
Всем привет! Меня зовут Миралем Пьянич. Теперь посмотрите на своих любимых игроков и на меня. На своих любимых игроков и на меня. Видите? Я снова на коне. И теперь я с конями.
What is going on here? At Ferencvaros in Hungary, and they've somehow managed to unearth a Roberto Firmino actual regen. Not only is he a lookalike, but he actually does all the same celebrations. I don't know a single thing about this man, but Liverpool must sign him. It's the prophecy. In Czechia, and one lucky fan for Sparta Prague made himself £40,000. He took part in a challenge where he basically just had to score in a miniature goal with a football from the halfway line, and he actually managed to do it, taking home the spoils. Meanwhile, there was drama up in Scotland as well, clearly at St. St. Johnston with this ludicrous scoreline. Closer to home, and Matheus Nunes has been arrested, or for one of the weirder reasons, I'm not gonna lie. He basically snatched a phone off of somebody, I think back in Brazil, who was taking a picture of him whilst he was in the toilet. Yeah, he snatched his phone off an old man in a Brazilian toilet. I don't know, he must have smashed up the phone and he got arrested. How's that happened then? Then of the Championship, and Liam Walsh made an immediate impact off the bench for Luton Town by absolutely disintegrating the shins of his opponent and getting sent off immediately. I don't know if this challenge is even safe for a younger audience. A Walsh here with the XXX factor, unfortunately.
No.
Meanwhile, down at York, and they faced off against Solihull Moors, winning 3-0, but this through ball to set up one of the goals has physically killed one of the opponent's defenders, or at the very least knocked him out on the way through. Stockport County's ultras are getting a little bit out of hand, I'm not gonna lie. I saw someone tweet this, but genuinely, I know it's like technically cringy, whatever, it's Fortnite dancing, but if I saw this and my team were losing to this, I'm fuming. Meanwhile, there were weird scenes down at Bromley, as a group of friends from Barcelona travelled from Spain to one of their home games to sing chants about one of their main strikers, Michael Cheek. This is a 100% a Football Manager save. These lot have definitely done a save together and taken this team to Champions League glory. I know it. In Japan, in a J-League, there's actual art taking place here. This needs to be painted. This is unbelievable. I don't know what in the time wasting down by the corner flag shenanigans was going on, but it is truly incredible. Meanwhile, in South America, and things aren't quite as artistic with this passage of play straight from kickoff.
Might be autistic, you know.
At Pumas in Mexico, we've got a mascot here trying to woo a steward through the art of dance. Meanwhile, the art continues here with a combination of celebrating with your shirt up over your head and also trying to block across. I don't know either what multitasking's happening here. In Turkey, and one Bursaspor fan was lucky enough to lead some chants from the centre circle. Meanwhile, in Portugal, and shout out to AFS Villa das Aves, who walked out onto the pitch with local dogs looking to be adopted this week. Now, that is a beautiful thing, definitely for a good cause. But the one thing I've taken from this is that Guillermo Ochoa isn't actually cryogenically frozen in between World Cup tournaments. Elsewhere, and we've got one couple who have found the perfect place to watch a game on a roof without paying a penny. Meanwhile, in Iran, and there were surreal scenes during a Champions League game between Sepahan SC and Istiklal Dushanbe, as ballistic missiles were seen flying overhead the stadium. Now that it's time for Still 0-0, and you guys know the score by now. This is a segment of the show where I bring to the best of Sunday League and amateur football. And often in this segment, not only do we, see bad, just footballing ability generally, but we see adults, fully grown men and women being bad as well. So this week I thought I'd change things up. We've got some actual ability here, and it's from a youngster too, who really is begging the question, what coach put this kid in goal? Yeah, sign him up immediately and make him a winger or something. This guy's wasted. On to the weird stuff though now. First of all, we have a wild, suspension coming from Italy, where a referee by the name of Fabio Maresca has been excluded from officiating in the next round of the Champions League because he's been accused of making death threats against the footballer in a game he officiated in the Middle East. Yeah, apparently, he got extremely annoyed at Khaled Al-Merched during a game between Al Arabi and QASC, which has led to him, probably quite rightfully, to be honest with you, getting stripped of his status for refereeing for UEFA as well. The VAR decision must have been pretty tense in this one. But finally, over in South Africa, we've got an iPad getting sent off. Yeah, you heard that correctly. Somebody over there down in South Africa has been watching too much Jose Mourinho because they decided they wanted to set up an iPad or a tablet with a tripod, I think to show a poor refereeing decision. I think it was the exact same reason as Jose Mourinho had done in Turkey. Well, the referee saw this for Mamelodi Sundowns coach and he wasn't too pleased, so he told him he had to get rid of it and send it off. One normal day of African football, man. That, though, is going to wrap up football this week, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then feel free to slap a like on the video, and of course, subscribe if you're new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @theofficialfng on Twitter and on Insta. And don't forget, you can become a channel member for extra perks too. It has been a pleasure ranting at you guys today, though. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.